That was 40 seconds. We're almost a minute. Catch your breath. Go for the second set. Okay? Still the same way. Hold it till failure. Hold it for as long as you can. Each party time, just for as long as you can. That's how we do 3 sets. Then we're done for the day. Is that okay? Good job. So we go back again. We go down. Back. We good? Alright. Let's go. You can straighten the hands even better. If you can't, my house is quite small, double the space. That's why I'm holding mine there, okay? Just hold it even out there. You want to stretch out your hands there, it's fine. Okay? Breathing here in the front or here. Ooh, good. That was exactly 50 seconds, 55 seconds, sorry. Good, you're doing well. So go for the last one, and then we're done. Is that okay? We good? 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. Even up. Hold it there. Squeeze the chin. Almost there. Ouch! Sour. Come on. That's 53 seconds. That was well done. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that brings us to the end of our back session today. I'll be with you again on Thursday. Tomorrow you leave. Please make sure that you don't miss out. You always have a nice session planned up for you. Okay. So let's shrug our shoulders here as we wrap it up. Back. Just the neck rounds. Side. Good. Here. Touch your neck. Turn the chin. Go reach for your ankle. And your toes. It's catchy. Hands in the center. Then swing backwards and tap the mat for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good job. This line here. The other side. Good stuff. So, thank you so much for joining me today on NTBTs in Uganda. My name is Peter. Hope you have enjoyed the session. Take good care of yourself and have yourself a lovely day. Bye.
The Foyoko is an improved cooking stove that runs on recycled coal scraps.
Before, we used charcoal and had to fan the flames by hand. It was really slow and meant that one of our cooks was always busy keeping the fire going.
For many years, Sierra Leonean entrepreneurs have been asking for local content. This simply just typifies that. From the sweet potato in that little village, right here, and onto the dining table.
Beat sensitivity pain fast with Sensodyne Rapid Action for clinically proven relief in 60 seconds.
Just one capful of Dettol is enough to disinfect surfaces and protect your family and your home. Dettol, tested effective against COVID-19.
Jina langu naitwa Esther Jelly. Napenda kutumia Tunukiwa sana. Na inatumia kwa kupigia customers wangu, kuitisha vitu sokoni.
Wakenya wengi wanaendelea kuzawadika kila siku kwa kutumia Tunukiwa. Piga *444# ili utunukiwe leo.
Do your gums hurt? Yeah. Does your toothpaste contain sage, eucalyptus, myrrh, chamomile?
All that in one toothpaste?
Yes, try Colgate Herbal. Colgate Herbal contains nature's best herbs and Colgate's fluoride technology to give you strong teeth and healthy gums.
Ah, Colgate Herbal.
Colgate Herbal for strong teeth and healthy gums naturally. Now introducing new Colgate Charcoal Gently Clean for a naturally fresh and clean mouth.
This is NTV.
Right, it's the last day of the month of May. We're glad you could join us on the show this morning on this Monday, the 31st day of the month of May. Now, many of us think of college as a wondrous time of new experiences and great freedom to explore new ideas and find ones to solve. But in recent years, depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues have afflicted college students at an alarming rate. In fact, in 2018, at least 12 students were reported to have committed suicide. So, what's going on? My name is Victor Kiprop, and this is Your World. Coming up, the dramatic increase in depression and other mental health issues among college students and why we need to talk about it.
I don't know whether to call it an unconscious state or a coma.
The story of two women who survived suicide and conquered their mental health battles. Scores of displaced people in DRC's Goma region at risk of cholera infection.
I set this target around 4 years before.
And Hong Kong mountaineer Sang Yin Hung records the world's fastest ascent of the Everest by a woman. month of May has been set aside internationally as the month to highlight issues of mental health awareness, and that's why on this last day of the month, what a better way to close it than to talk about the rise in mental issues and other, of course, mental health issues among students in the universities. And that's why we asked you this morning, what is behind the rise of mental health issues among students in higher learning institutions? You can be part of this conversation by tweeting us at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop_. Make sure you can use the hashtag #NewNormal so that we can see all the tweets that you send us. You could also follow the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube elsewhere where we are live. But before that, let's give you a quick update of the coronavirus situation in Kenya and across the world. These are the latest numbers according to Corona Tracker. Globally, 171,032,661 people have been confirmed with COVID-19 so far. 153,309,463 have recovered. And of course, sadly, we've lost 3,556,724 people to COVID-19 across the world so far. Let's bring the situation closer home now. And in Kenya, 170,647. That's the number of people who've been confirmed with COVID-19 in Kenya so far. Remember, these are the latest figures according to the Ministry of Health. 116,776 have recovered, and we've lost 3,157 people to COVID-19 so far in Kenya. Of course, we continue to remind you to follow the protocols set out by the Ministry of Health in order to, of course, prevent the spread of COVID-19, which includes masking at all times, washing your hands or sanitizing as regularly as you can, and of course, maintaining the 1.5 meters social distance. Once again, we want you to be part of that conversation that we're having this morning about mental health awareness in institutions of higher learning. That's why we asked you in our question of the day, why is there a rise in mental health issues among students in higher learning institutions? You can tweet us at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop_. Remember to use the hashtag #NewNormal. If you're not on Twitter, you could follow the conversation on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And if you're not on any social media platform, you sure have a mobile phone and you can call in and be part of the conversation. Let's now give you a quick update of what else is happening across the African continent. And hundreds of thousands of displaced people who fled Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo after volcanic eruption are at risk of infection of cholera. The international humanitarian medical group Doctors Without Borders warned on Sunday. At least 6 cases of cholera were reported on Sunday among displaced people who have taken refuge in schools and churches in the region after the Nyiragongo volcano rumbled a week ago. Fear of a second eruption spurred the government to issue an evacuation order on Thursday that sent 400,000 residents fleeing, some to Sake, about 30 kilometers to the northwest, while others made to Ruchuru in the north and Minova in the South Kivu province. To the southern part of the continent now, and South Africa is set to reimpose stricter measures against COVID-19 beginning today as the country stares at a third wave of the coronavirus pandemic. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced on Sunday evening that non-essential establishments like restaurants, bars and fitness centers will now close by 10 p.m. local time, while gatherings including political and faith events will be limited to 250 people outdoors and 100 people indoors. South Africa is officially the worst hit country in the continent with more than 1.65 million cases and 56,363 deaths, with four of the nation's provinces, I beg your pardon, already battling a third wave of infections.
Further restrictions are necessary to ensure that health facilities are not overwhelmed and that lives that could be saved are not lost. Delaying the spread of the virus is especially important now to allow as many people as possible to be vaccinated before the third wave reaches its peak. While the country is headed towards a third wave of infections, we do not yet know how severe this wave will be or for how long it will last. According to the scientists that advise government, The severity of this third wave will largely be determined by the amount of contact each of us has with other people.
To the west of the continent now, and West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS has suspended Mali's membership in response to last week's coup in which President Ban Do and Prime Minister Mokhtar Ouane were ousted by the military. The leaders of the 15-member Economic Community of West African States who held an emergency summit in Ghana's capital Accra on Sunday to agree to a response to the Malian military's ouster of the president and the prime minister for the second time in 9 months, said the authorities must stick to a timeline for a return to democracy, but did not announce the sanctions like those it imposed after the coup last August. Mali's neighbors and international powers fear that the latest revolt will jeopardize a commitment to hold a presidential election next February and undermine a regional fight against Islamist militants. Back home now, and former Kibwezi West MP Kalembe Ndile lost his long-fought battle with cancer. The late legislator's family confirmed that he passed on early yesterday at the Nairobi hospital, where he had been admitted for some time. NTV's Naoma Sampao has more.
The country today woke up to the sad news that former Kibwezi Member of Parliament Kalembe Ndile had passed on. Ndile, aged 57, had been in and out of hospitals for some time before his death. The family says he became seriously ill and was taken to the Nairobi hospital. He was confirmed dead a few hours later.
Let's wait for the post-mortem report. I know that there had to be an MRI, and that's a bit of scanning to find out where the problem was. And then, depending on that, the doctors had decided that they wanted to make an incision, and they had asked for people to come and donate blood. So that was a process. Within that process, we lost our brother.
Kalembe has been eulogized by different leaders from across the country. President Uhuru Kenyatta has eulogized the late Kalembe Ndile as a lively politician who always held the country's interests at heart. Deputy President William Ruto has termed Kalembe Ndile as a master of equal justice who set an incredible example of service to all. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga said that the country has lost a charismatic leader with exceptional grassroots mobilization skills. In a statement, former President Mwai Kibaki eulogized Kalembe Ndile as industrious when he served as assistant minister in his administration. He remembers him as an enthusiastic politician whose style invariably caught the eye of both friend and foe. Kalembe Ndile, who served as Kibwezi Member of Parliament from between 2002 and 2007, has always worked hard to remain alive in the country's collective memory. A man whose humor endeared him to many and sometimes helped him wiggle out of sticky situations.
Ati nyinyi mnakula ugali usiku saa 3, wengine mnasema badili ya kuilale tupa hapo nje, kuku wakiamuka na umba wakule. Sasa mtu akisidani anaamka asubuhi anakuja anachomeka na hilo ugali imelala.
Before plunging into politics, he campaigned for land rights for the underprivileged in Ukambani. He was first elected into public office as councillor for the Makueni County Council in 1997. He later was named the chairperson of the SDP party, whose leader then was current Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu. It is then that he polished his politics and made a stab at the Kibwezi parliamentary seat and won in the 2002 elections. Kalembe also served as the Assistant Minister for Wildlife in the National Alliance Rainbow Coalition government. However, he lost in subsequent attempts to win back his parliamentary seat. The politician, however, found his way back into government with a 2015 appointment by President Uhuru Kenyatta to the board of the Tana Athi Waterworks for 3 years. Kalembe ditched Ngilu and formed the independent party, Tip Tip, and joined the Jubilee coalition before the 2017 election. Kalembe leaves behind 10 biological children and 6 adopted children. Nayoma Sampao, NTV.
Remember, we told you earlier that May is the World Mental Health Awareness Month, and because of that, of course, many Kenyans have been battling mental health challenges and embracing different mechanisms to cope with the issue. Our reporter Gabriel Kudaka now brings us an inspirational story of 2 women who conquered mental health challenges after attempting suicide several times.
At the St. Joseph's Girls Secondary School, Kipsaina in Elgeyo Marakwet County, Alison Mulwe is taking from 2 learners through an English lesson. 4 years back, she was in the tight grip of depression and could not perform her duties.
It was a matter of on and off. Yeah, so it could go after 2 years, after 3 years. It was like I go through a relapse.
When I went to TSC and they requested for a school, I was told to come to Kipsaina because there was a teacher who was under depression. He was having some mental challenge. I accepted and I was told I will co-teach with her so that she can pick and we'll be able to heal in the process.
For teacher Alison, there in the cusp of flight and shadow, death seemed like a cradle. She tried to take her own life 3 times, but she found salvation on the 3rd attempt.
When I came out of that state, I don't know whether to call it an unconscious state or a coma, I then realized, oh, what happened? So depression, if not handled well, someone can just go into it deeply and the next minute this person isn't here with us.
After a number of sessions at the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital's mental unit, teacher Alison is back on her feet, stronger and doing what she loves.
When she reported back, she's been doing work well. In fact, even when she's on duty as a teacher, she does her work exceptionally well.
In Kapsoya Estate in Uasin Gishu County, Winnie Omondi goes about her business as a fishmonger. She is glad she is able to work and fend for her family after dealing with the peaks and troughs of managing her bipolar disorder. She too had attempted suicide.
Shida ilikuwa mingi baba. Shida ilikuwa si shida. Mama, baba ameingia kitaka. Haki nikaona mimi nimefika mwisho. Nimefika mwisho. Nifanye nini? Kasema sasa hii kifo tu ndio itaamua.
She survived and was taken in for treatment.
Nikasema sasa kama hiyo ijaniua kabisa. Wacha nipambane na hii maisha.
Winnie's family played a crucial role in her journey towards her recovery.
That bipolar is not the person. The person is himself. So when you find somebody who has a condition, that is just a thing that it comes and goes.
From the indispensable lessons they learned from their hardships, both Winnie and teacher Alison are now champions of mental health awareness. Experts say mental health illnesses should be given serious attention just like any other disease, and people should find it normal to seek for help in case of any concerns.
When you have done all you could have done, it's very important to keep in touch with how you're feeling. For many people, if you ask them how they are doing, they'll say, I'm okay, mainly because they don't have a headache or they don't have a backache. But the truth is there are many people who are not okay, and you need to be in touch with even your own emotions. Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you interacting with people?
According to the 2015-2030 Kenya Mental Health Policy, 20 to 25% of patients seeking primary health care present symptoms of mental illnesses. The 2018 Mental Health Bill by Senator Sylvia Kasanga, currently before the Senate, seeks to, among other things, enhance access to mental health care at the community level. Gabriel Kudaka, NTV.
Dear Mom and Dad, I'm sorry I had to do this. I love you guys so much, but I can't take it any longer. Life has become unbearable. I cannot live like this anymore. This is the note that was left behind by a 24-year-old Southeastern Kenya University student who committed suicide in March 2019. And of course, the year before, 12 other students were reported to have committed suicide across many Kenyan universities. those are the unlucky ones. The lucky ones continue to be alive, but depression continues to affect their lives in very, very many different directions. It is a very sensitive and controversial subject that sometimes very few would want to talk about it. But on this show, we want to do it. That's why this morning we'd like to break down the challenge of mental health awareness across higher learning institutions. My guest this morning, Dr. Gitonga Shiriaka. She's the Dean of School of Education and Social Sciences at the University of Embu. Welcome to the show, Dr.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Joining me as well virtually this morning is Dr. Linda Nyamute. She is a psychiatrist. Dr. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning and thank you.
Great. And also with me in studio this morning is Rachel Wamushe. She is a student at the University of Embu. Good morning and welcome to the show, Rachel.
Good morning to you too.
Right, and also in studio with us this morning, of course, is Crazy Kena. He's a content creator, but he likes to refer to himself as the content cartel. Good morning, Kena. Karibu kwenye show.
Good morning.
Great. That is, of course, my panel for this conversation this morning, and we want you to be part of this conversation by tweeting us at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop _ using the hashtag New Normal. We are asking you now question of the day: what is behind the rising number of course, mental health issues among students in higher learning institutions? You can tweet us at NTV Kenya and at Victor Kiprop _ Remember to use the hashtag New Normal so that we can see part of the feedback that you send us. You could also follow the conversation on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, where we are currently live streaming. And if you're not on any social media platform, I keep saying that there is no excuse, because you surely have a mobile phone and you can call in on the numbers below your screen and be part of this conversation. But for now, let's just start here. Dr. 12 university students committed suicide in 2018. Some people believe that some numbers are not accurately reported. There are cases that do not make it to the headlines. And it's a major, major crisis that you can't help but get the feeling that we don't talk about it enough, do we?
We don't. I agree, Kiprop, that we don't talk about, we actually talk about those who come at the tail end. The few cases that are reported are those that have unfortunately committed suicide. But we do not talk about the ones that are struggling with their mental health challenges, and even those that come out are not the actual data, the data of the students who possibly get their lives out. We don't have the real data, but the reporting is a challenge. Documentation of the students that are struggling with mental health issues is a challenge, and I think this kind of a show and others that we have seen, it tells us that we can remove the blanket that covers issues that are mental health, because ideally all of us struggle with various levels of mental health challenges.
But when we say 15, because there was this research that said 15, I mean, for the youth or young people aged between 15 to 29 years, the second leading cause of death was suicide. That is a very scary statistic.
It's very scary. It's very scary. And that's what I'm saying. It is 12. You're talking about 12 in 2018. We don't have the data for 2019, 2020. And especially 2020, given the COVID challenges that are being there, because the universities were hit by the COVID challenge just like any other institution. So if that number is huge, because one life lost of a young person is a loss, not only to the family but the nation. Look at the investment that has been done to that particular child that eventually gives up on life. So the numbers are big. I do not have the actuals, but the fact is they are there and the number is big. Okay. Yes.
Let me bring in Dr. Nyamute at this point. Daktari, we're talking about people aged 15 to 29. Ideally, from a layman's perspective, this is a group that is meant to be, should be happy. Very few issues bother them. From where we sit, sometimes we like to say people who don't even pay rent, they don't understand the issues of why we need to perhaps have the economy at a better place. Why do we have people that we should be perceiving as, a bit happier than the rest of us actually being in this kind of a situation?
I think just to start off, okay, let me just start by correcting you. We no longer use the term to commit suicide. We say die by suicide. Just to get that.
Sorry, let me just get that correctly. Let me just get it correctly, Daktari.
You do not commit suicide. You don't say someone has committed suicide. They died by suicide.
We're trying
to use these terms to try to to destigmatize suicide. Yes. Okay. Yes. So now back to your question.
Yes.
For the ages 15 to 29, a lot of mental health disorders actually start during the late teen years. That is, a number of people will get their first episodes of be it bipolar, be it schizophrenia. And so this is a very fragile group, meaning that they are very prone to developing mental health illnesses, or rather, this is where a lot of mental health illnesses start to manifest themselves. Then the other thing is you have to appreciate that we're living in a very challenging time. It's no longer how things were before. So there's so much pressure. In as much as we look at it like these are people who are the least stressed, but there's a lot of pressure in terms of you're growing from a child to an adult. Are you a child? Are you an adult? You know, there's that whole transition period. And there's a lot of pressure that comes with that as well. There's a lot of influence from your peers for this, for that, and wanting to fit in and wanting to just look like you're part of the group. The other thing with this age group is there's so much societal pressure at the moment. In as much as you're going to school and learning, there's the bit where your colleagues are they are having the time of their life, for example, and you're supposed to be in school. You're looking at people your age on social media. You're looking at people maybe who are even younger than you on social media, and they look like they're making it in life, and you are really, really struggling. So there's also a lot of comparison, and especially in this day and age of technology, where things are just at our disposal. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of academic, yes, but there's also a lot of non-academic pressures that this group currently faces, and that can make them susceptible to mental health illnesses. And now the consequences of it if they do not get treatment.
Okay. And Dr., just before I go back to Rachel, there was a study done by the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Nairobi and Cambridge, which shows that at least 36%, it found that 36% of the students were actually had one form or another of mental distress. You wouldn't believe the figure is that high, would you?
That's true. As Dr. Lia said, and I said earlier, we all experience mental distress. So that number is a true reflection, or even maybe, given what Dr. Lia shared, maybe it would be higher. We all experience a certain degree of mental distress. But at what point does it make you not functional, or do normal tasks as a student? And for me, that is what the issue is. Because yes, we have all of us, students, lecturers, community members in the universities, we all experience this pressure. But now the level at which that makes a student non-functional and tipping it to the highest level of hopelessness and wanting to give up is what is now worrying, because we are getting more and more numbers of students that are feeling helpless. And when I talk about universities, we are talking about colleges, because that is the same cohort. And Dr. Lia shared the pressure from life issues, determining who I am and where I'm going and what issues I'm going through. And life issues is complex, because it's not only the personal issues that the individual is carrying, the way the learning environment within the university is structured, the family from which this child has come from, the environment in which these students are living, and then, of course, the bigger electronic access to information that is overwhelming. So, yes, I'm not surprised by that statistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it could actually be higher in the sense that when you put all these pressures together, you can imagine what it means to a child who possibly doesn't know where the meal will come from, a child who is not feeling like they are doing the course that they wanted to do in the university, a child who is getting a lot of information outside and being without a job for a long time. So that is a reflection.
Okay.
But I think we need to know that there is the normal pressure of life. Beyond that level, where does the student go for support? How do we begin the conversation? Because it is about being aware that I'm dealing with an issue that is beyond.
Okay, actually,
Yes.
and on that point of being aware, let me just bring in Rachel here, because Rachel, you have definitely been in this situation, and like the two women that we highlighted, you have at least come out successfully. But for just take us back, how long did it even take you to even first of all find out that you are bordering on anything, perhaps, or the fact finding out that you're not even well?
Well, I wouldn't say I actually know when it started, because it's not just one thing that like first distracted me from my normal routine or from going on with life and all. So it started like maybe from my childhood even, just being anxious and all. Maybe learning to shut that down, learning to be quiet when maybe I should be speaking, learning to, let people step on me when probably I should, step up too. Yeah, so it's I wouldn't say no when it started. But I like what Dr. said about everyone has mental distress. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, because yes, it's the process. It's the process, like learning to communicate your feelings, to know who you can talk to and who not to talk to. Learning that that you are in a community, say if you're in school, learning that you are in a community that probably not everyone can listen, not everyone will understand, but there's that particular person, maybe one or two, those people you don't even have to know them, but there's someone you can go to.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's...
And Rachel, the difference between these issues is sometimes it happens differently for different people. The way it manifests for you may not be the same way it manifests for me. Just take us through perhaps a brief of what the situation was like for you.
Oh, yeah, that's tricky. So,
yes.
I'd say... okay, maybe let me put it on a general level.
Yes.
They say school is a community, and at this point we know the globe as a small village. Someone mentioned social media. So the small village, in this small village, which is made very small by social media, I can see people out there doing things, people my age who are making it. And at that point, I'm like, I've always had dreams, I've suppressed so many dreams, and I want to start actualizing them. And I had this feeling of impatience, a feeling of like, I'm wasting time, I'm losing time, I don't have enough time to get all of it done.
Yeah.
I should probably get started now, but how do I start? Who do I go to? I should probably, like there's a whole bit of confusion, like I need to focus on school. Yeah, this is what I want to do, but it needs to connect with my other dreams. How do they connect? Who will understand? Like when I go and try to talk to people, they're like, focus on one and leave this one. But then I'm like, no, that's not it. They are the same. Why can't you see that I need to get both of them done, that they will all help me? It's knowledge. At the end of the day, it will be relevant. So finding that person to talk to in that confusion, the fact that I can't really put all my needs in words.
Yeah.
So eventually you end up feeling confused and very lonely.
Okay.
Almost like even if you talked, it wouldn't help. It's just like words are cheap. Like it's not enough. Yeah. So you start feeling alone. And then I kind of started wasting time with anyone who has time to waste, because after all, looks like there's nothing I can do.
and that to some extent will always affect your studies, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, because like your focus has redirected. Now it's no longer about your dreams or your passions or even school or those things that really matter to you. At that point, you start going to, you know, you're like running away from them altogether. Yeah, because you feel like you can never make it. That feeling of insufficiency.
Okay.
Like time will just pass and I will never get it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hopeless. It's hopeless, really.
Let me just bring in Kenna at this point. Kenna, you have obviously invested time, of course, as a student, and of course the platform now that you have to try and raise awareness about these issues in recent days and in recent months. But I'm sure from where you sit, you would understand that out there, the expectation is, you know, campus is pure bliss. I mean, you're just supposed to eat and, you know, sleep, you know, and study. But there are a lot of challenges around the environment that you are, that sometimes we don't see from where we sit, but it ends up, of course, pushing some people even to the edge, right?
Right. So let me start from the beginning.
Yeah.
As a university student,
yeah,
and as an entertainer,
yeah,
you people need to understand that times have changed and times are really changing. The university that you knew way back is not the same university.
I feel very old right now, Ken.
Yeah. So the university that you knew, it's not the same university that we have currently, you know. The university students we have are currently joining the Kenyan workforce. So we must understand the cause of depression from the roots. First of all, I will start by saying that depression, the first cause is that, you know, when people are transiting from high school to university, a lot of people are selecting courses that are, you know, after you're starting to join university, you'll just have a list of courses. So you just select Hofed. Mtu atakaa chini aseme mimi nataka kuwa daktari. Kumbe ajui daktari, kosi ya daktari na deal na nini. Mwingine atasema me I want to do engineering without proper education. So, you know, before people join campuses, we need first of all to educate these students and the learners about what these courses entail. Because the moment they have chosen these courses, now depression starts kicking in when they realize that they have chosen what they are not specialized in, or they have chosen what they do not love. You see? So, mtu anaanza kushikwa na pressure, anaanza kupiga hesabu zake. Unajua tukiwa pale university kunakuwa na pressure mingi sana. So umefika kampo, umeingia class, you know your expectations don't really match what is going on there. You expected that I'm going to university, I'm going to study, I'm going to graduate, get a first class na nipate kazi. Unaingia kwanza class, kitu unafundishwa kwanza ni kama hujaisikia. Unaona? So the depression inaanza ku kick in pole pole. So you start getting exams. It reaches time for exams hapo. Unaingia paper, ulisoma hii jakuja, you see? So inaanza kuwa a lot of stress. So education and making students to understand what they are getting into, that will be the first how to start solving these causes of depression. Another one is, let me speak about social media. I'm telling you that university is changing. When you join university, now you have access to information, and you know information is key. So you can get a lot of information on social media, see how people are progressing, then start doing the comparison. I'll give you a personal story about myself. You know, when you join the university at first year, because I'm a 4th year student.
People don't
JKUAT.
even know that, by the way.
Okay. Maybe I'll reverse a little bit. I'm a student in JKUAT University. 4th year, I'm taking actuarial science. I'm also an entertainer, and I'm also pursuing business. So it's I'm in between there.
Okay.
So I remember when we joined campus, I started doing entertainment comedy. Pole pole pale with my friends, we started doing comedy. So ilikuanga finances, you know, finance is very key. So finance hapo kuna 50 bob. Sasa tuko watu watatu tumetulia hapo kwa bed sitter. So you know what made us to go through this thing easily, because we are 3. Everything was funny to us. Hatukuwa na ile time ya kujicompare. Tumepata 50 bob, tumetafuta kwanza, tuko na 50 bob hapo ya sapa. So tunaanza kucheka. Tunasema hii 50 bob tukinunua nao mboga ya 20, tuseme tuweke vitunguu za 5, tunapiga na pita inaingia 60 bob. Tena tunaanza hesabu. Tunasema acha sasa tusichukue mboga. Wacha sasa tuchukue mayai 2, tufike hapa, inafika hapa, imeingia 70. Tena tuna reduce. Tunasema sasa tuchukue chapati moja na strong tea, alafu tunaanza kucheka. Then tunasema bas. Kitu tumewezana na. You know, now we rose over depression, in that now everything to us we used to share, and we never used to take comparison like jana tulikuwa na 50 bob peke yake tukakaa njaa, you see. So the main other problem is that there is a high rate of comparison. Unaingia pale social media, you'll find that somebody is trying to compare his life with a 30-year-old person. Somebody has been in the industry, somebody is a graduate, amekuwa kisoma, anajaribu compare. Why am I not making it immediately?
And maybe if I can challenge you right there, Kiana, because for you have been lucky enough to be able, or of course at working, enough to be able to, you know, juggle school and business pale kidogo na comedy hapa. And then there is someone who has been in school, and of course that comedy or that business of yours comes with a few coins. And then there's someone else who's in school, has no any other alternative source of income. Alafu anaona, Kiana mazee. Kiana nasonga na mimi niko tu hapa.
I will say this way, that people should stop the level of comparison. Unajua, everybody has his own path and everybody will have his own blessing. Me personally, I believe that when you are blessed, doesn't mean that when somebody else is blessed, that doesn't mean that your time will not come, you know. It's all about remaining patient. It's like stay on your lane. You know, if you see somebody is rising to certain levels, you jump from your own path, you start running his path. So you must stick to your path, whether things are not working out. Because personally, I've done entertainment for 3 years without even getting a shilling, and people were earning. But I was hii kitu sinajua tu siku moja itakuja tu ya mke, you know, just you know, at least you don't get discouraged to a level that you have lost hope in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rachel, do the things that Kiana is talking about all around make sense from where you sit?
Sorry?
Do the things that Kiana is talking about, the challenges, the environment where you are, the issues of finances actually make sense to you?
Yeah. And the comparison, the financial struggles, yes, all that makes a lot of sense. And you either do something good, like focus on your studies and maybe find a side hustle or something, or completely distract yourself. Now, distracting yourself is the beginning of, I think, actual trouble, especially, you know, the mental struggle. Because eventually, you know, you distract yourself until you're not distracted anymore, and reality hits, and you realize you're still over there, still doing nothing about your situation, and still lonely, and still lost, still almost hopeless. So I resonate.
Okay, let me just come back to you, Daktari, because I mean, from when I was researching for this, there were quite a number of this possible causes, and one of them I could see was also an issue of maybe alcohol and substance abuse. There was also another issue about intimate relationships. Yes. You interact with these people every day. Just talk to us from your perspective, other side from what they have talked about.
Yes, I think having listened to those two students, because most of them are students in the university, I think, of course, they have highlighted the issue of finance. And sometimes where I sit as a dean taking care of very many students, sometimes I feel that burden ought to belong to somebody else. I think we are a country which ought to finance students' education, because students are having to fend for themselves. I think the levels of poverty, if you want to know how high they are, come to the universities, find out where are students living, what are they eating. Most vice chancellors will tell you they are having to give students free food. So that word hustling, I find it very fascinating, because every student has a hustle so that they are able to survive in the university. Yes, there are other factors indeed that are leading to now a complexity of mental health issues. It's not just finances. The relationship is a big issue. Dr. Alice talked about the fact that this is the age, especially the age of the students in the university. Most of the theories tell us they experience a lot of identity crisis. Some are trying to fall into relationships, and these relationships are aborting. Some are in relationships, and then they get, the complexities of relationships. You get a baby here, and then you disappear, you look for others. We have a lot of sexual violence among the university students. We have a lot of gender violence between male, female. And because it's a small community, social media is also being used as a platform to fuel the abuses, both sexual and other forms of abuse. So it's not just finance, but the other one, the big animal in the house, is academics. The moment a student doesn't do well in the university, and especially after the first year, because there is a general feeling that passing in the university is not very difficult. Actually, most students will come with the intention that they won't read, they want to cheat, you are caught, you are suspended. Others accumulate a lot of supplementaries. Those that belong to my school know that I look for you and ask you, why do you have, because it's a sign. When a student is not doing well in the university and they have 1, 3, 4 supplementaries, it's an indicator there is something that is happening. That they have either lost interest, they don't attend class. The story of missing marks. There is a student story. A student who possibly never even submitted assignments, all of a sudden begins to say, I did my assignments, and you go to the record. It's a very complex environment. Then, of course, there is the issue of the community in which they are living. Because these students are living, majority of the students. Really, most universities will house maybe a quarter or 30 is high. It's a very small percentage of students that are housed in the university. That means the bulk of the students are outside. It's true when Kenna talked about university today is different, because initially students would at our time, long time ago, students would remain in the halls of residence, would have janitors and other university hired staff that would provide the social support that is needed to the residents. Now that the bulk of the students are living out of the campuses, I am yet to meet a university which has an infrastructure that supports them where they live. Because really, it is very complicated. If students are hiring residents in a private whatever, the university is not able to put the structures that would be found within hostels, so that then we are able to tell what are the patterns of students. I remember and again the numbers. We're also talking about large numbers of students who need a lot of support to be able to identify from the same institution. Then we talk about the class sizes. The numbers are big. So even if you are to identify a student who is in need, it's just a miracle that you get a student who is in need. So there is, it's a complex society in which the students are living in. And I think we really encourage more studies by sociologists, psychologists, medical practitioners to come and really unpack the issues that the students are going through and possibly make proper recommendations. It is high time. It's high time the government respond to this issue. We can't have students, and if we continue having students who are living in poverty within the university and colleges, so to speak, then there is a part of their life that will be completely distracted. So that I don't know whether there is a student who won't tell you they have their side hustle. And that word if it is unpacked, you really see the reason why a student is doing this, because we don't have, the society is not providing, you know, like now we are having a lot of, the funding that is given to students can hardly sustain them independently.
Let me just bring Dr. Nyamucha at this point. Daktari, because, I mean, what Daktari is raising is the issue of how perhaps you're still young, you're just a teenager, and the way Kenna has explained, you're forced to take up responsibilities that are not even yours, you know, perhaps paying your rent, and quote-unquote hustling, which should be really a vocabulary we use when we talk about adults.
Sorry, I think I lost you a bit.
Yes, I was saying clearly from the research and what Daktari is saying and the Dean is saying and Kenna is talking about, part of this problem is because we have people who are still at a young age, are teenagers, and are now forced to take up responsibilities that should belong perhaps to adults, like, you know, taking care of yourselves, you know, hustling, perhaps to pay your rent and all that.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, we are living, I mean, as Kenna said, in very different times from how it was before. I mean, even so, before people were still, teenagers were still getting pregnant and they still be able to, I mean, handle life then. But currently we're in a space where we've always had this narrative, go to school, learn, education is the key to success and all that. But then now you find you are in school, you're struggling to stay in that school, first of all, because you need to keep up with all these financial struggles, with all these challenges. But then now comes the other issue that I think both Rachel and Kenna brought about, which is now the wanting to fit in, you know, like the peer pressure within it, wanting to fit in and wanting to be like other people. So you find someone comes from a very humble background, but they're seeing how someone else who was a bit more privileged is living, and they want to live up to that kind of life. So we have those who are genuinely struggling, who are genuinely trying to, you know, just make ends meet and then have their side hustle. But then now we also have those who want to sort of maintain a certain kind of lifestyle that they are probably not able to afford. And yeah, I think that brings a lot of unnecessary pressure to them, because you can only deal with so much that is on your plate. The other thing also is with the changes in our society and how our upbringing has changed over the years. We come from a society where the youth now is expecting more of, like you'd find when you're younger, you do something good, it's rewarded. You do another good thing, it's rewarded. So now you're getting to a space where nobody recognizes these things, you know, whether you do good, whether you're the best in a unit, whether you, no one really bothers with that. And that instant gratification that people were so used to is no longer there. And it's, of course, now creating a sense of, didn't I do good enough? And this, I'm here, I'm giving my best in school. No one is recognizing it. Isn't it not good enough? And of course, now for some that will play off with self-esteem, and especially for those who used to get a lot of that reward every now and then. The other thing also, with a lot of courses and a lot of courses now, but there's this very competitive courses. You find the students within that environment, in that course, there's an environment where what has been fostered is less of cooperation and more of competition. So it's, I need to be better than the next person. So you find it's, even when you're doing well, you still need to be better than the person next to you. So some people even end up sabotaging each other or not helping each other. And I mean, one person, I mean, well, as someone said, I don't have to fail for you to win, you know. But a lot of people don't look at it in that way. It's more, it's competition. I have to do better than my next person. I have to do, and for some that creates just unnecessary pressure, creates unnecessary stress. And of course, now with self-esteem, when they do not perform as better, I mean, as they expected to, of course, now that will affect their self-esteem. Then, of course, now they'll also come burnout, if the issues to do with burnout, because you're really trying to push and push and push and push way more than your body can handle.
Okay, thank you. And on that point of course, pushing and pushing and pushing, before I take this quick feedback and we go for a break, let me just go back to Rachel at this. Rachel, sometimes you can push, but there is certainly a limit, right? Because we are, I mean, there's only a limit to which you can perhaps stretch this and take all this burden that you have.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there is a limit. There is this meme ilikuwa inasema ati when you leave home to go to campus, you're a student until umefika third year. Ukifika third year, even your parents start treating you like you are in school to earn. Yeah, it was actually a meme, so it was funny, and you know, we reposted. It was funny because it's a meme. It's true. They actually do that. They treat you like, oh, sasa unajua uko third year, by now unafaa kumejanjaruka, you're supposed to be doing something. Na so in the first place, just leaving home may be like a shock for some people. There are people who are shocked by the fact that they're not with their parents anymore. No one is asking them, wanaenda wapi? Are they safe? And then you meet friends who, you know, maybe you start having a taste of disloyalty, and things like that. Alafu, like I've noticed these days, students, you know, there's this issue at job markets. Like, okay, fine, you're studying, but where are you studying to go to? It's no longer a guarantee. So students these days kind of form groups and then start coming up with projects, which is really cool. But then again, like Daktari said, yes, there's this group and there's the other. So these groups are competing, but then it becomes toxic at some point, because these ones want to be the winners, the leaders, the ones who took the cup away, the ones who made it. I think we should kind of realize that, you know, we all need to make it, even if maybe we're in the same line of work, or in the same lane of work. Okay. Yeah. You still might need, you know, to collaborate with the other person. Like, there's enough market for all of us. You've not exploited all the ideas. There's still so much that you've not covered. You know, we need to realize that. Yeah, because now when you go and, you know, nazima light ya mtu mwingine, ama another group, you really. That's when, you know, this person will be like, I was just trying to just make it through this one like every other person. I'm also not certain about about what to get ahead. I want to make something of my own with my friends. So if I can't do this, what next? You know, just that.
Thank you.
That trying to start something and then it dies. Because of disloyalty and things like that, because we are all competing, not just against each other, but also against a bigger community out there, not realizing that we're putting so much, there's so much that we are yet to exploit. In fact, we should just collaborate.
Thank you, Rachel. And of course, certainly, it's not all doom and gloom. There is definitely a way in which we can solve this. There's a way we can prevent all these situations that we are talking about it. And that's what we want to do when we come back from this quick break. We talk about how you can get help and how we can find solutions for this major problem. But before we go, let's get some quick feedback. And yes, remember we asked you our question of the day: why is there a rise in mental health issues among students in higher learning institutions? Karanga _KE says, a friend of mine never receives even 10 bob from his parents when he's in school. They just pay fees and the story ends there. He comes to my house, calls me Kiongozi, maybe to get a meal. I like him because he is honest. I'll never wish to see him hungry. So I can confidently say parents contribute to mental health issues as well. Despite the situation in homes, they should do more. Very, very candid feedback from Karanja there, and says, the rapper says, because we don't talk about mental health, we think stress ni kitu kidogo tu, it will go away. Plus, most are carrying heavy burdens, pressure pia from home and school and drugs too. Thank you, the rapper. Julia Songok says there's a rise in mental health across all groups in Kenya and globally. Mental fitness is an important area to prioritize at the moment and moving forward. Thank you, Julia Songok. And yes, 349 says student mental health is on the rise due to number 1, helplessness, frustration, boredom, financial loss of their parents is raising mental issues for the students. Thank you very much, folks. And Sliver says financial problems, the economy is hard for parents, and most people at higher learning institutions still depend on their parents. Thank you, Slivo. And yes, Real Brainian says it's disappointing to feel like everything you did in the university was meaningless. The worst part is knowing that it from the start, so you consciously watch yourself fall apart. Wonderful. That is part, of course, of the feedback that we were able to sample. Keep sending them, and of course also our lines are open if you want to call in, but for now we have to take a quick break. We'll be back before you know it.
Tower Sacco offers you an opportunity to invest at a minimum of 20,000 for a term of 3, 6, 9 and 12 months at competitive interest rates. Open a fixed deposit account and start a journey of investments. Tower Sacco, a basket for all your financial needs.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. It's reinvented formula with flaxseed oil. Boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex.
Protex. Good health starts here.
Welcome to the future of railway cargo transport, presented to you by Kenya Railways. The Madaraka Express brings you the best modern rail service available in the East African region today. Whether it be conventional cargo, containerized cargo, or any other cargo, we connect markets. Madaraka Express freight service is designed with the client's preference in mind, affording them peace of mind whenever their goods are on the move until the time of delivery. Kenya Railways, right on track.
Try Panadol Advance for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Advance.
Thank you for staying with Your World on NTV this morning. We are talking about mental health awareness on this last day of the month of May, which is a month set aside for mental health awareness across the world. And in studio this morning with me, of course, my guest, Dr. Gitonga Siriaka. She's the Dean of School of Education and Social Sciences at the University of Embu. Also joining me in studio is Rachel Wamushe. She's a student at the University of Embu, as well as Crazy Kena, who is a content creator. And of course, joining us virtually this morning is Dr. Linda Nyamute, who is a psychiatrist. Just before we went for that break, we were sampling the feedback that you have been sending us. Let's just go and see if we have more and see what some of you have been saying. Yes, Brenda Mudhoni says, too much pressure to meet expectations. Thank you, Brenda. And then do we have more? Yes. She Toket says it's always been there. The difference is that now it's being recorded and acknowledged. And I want you to take that down because there's a question I want you to ask you later. Yes, and Comag Africa says due to poor living conditions and uncertain future where employment is not guaranteed. Thank you very much. Let me just start with you, Kena. Kena, most of that feedback and what people are saying borders on issues of finances, right?
Yeah, true. So, you know, when COVID-19 hit, I think that was when reality came to people. Because, you know, during 2020, people were not in school for almost a year. So imagine being out of school almost a year. You have nothing to do, you are just at home. So the first thing, I think now we should be speaking more of solutions. The first thing, people in the universities need to be educated more on financial knowledge. You know, financial knowledge is key. I think university should focus, even if you are doing a course that doesn't teach about finance, or you are doing a course that is not related to finance, financial knowledge should be key. Everybody should be educated on how to use and manage finance, because if somebody gets money, misusing it is also an option. Because you can get money and misuse it. At the end of the day, you will start struggling financially. But if somebody is financially prepared, somebody cannot go to an extent of financial depression. Because I have experienced that you can have even 200 Kenyan shillings, but you can manage that money properly and use it well. Another thing people need to be educated about in universities, the social skills. Let the lecturers major on social skills and financial management, because at the end of the day, degree without the financial management skills and social skills will be, it won't help a lot, because at the end of the day, you have a degree. How will you know to spot an opportunity? How can you see that there is a gap in the financial business, and how can you fill that financial gap? How will you know the right people to meet? How will you understand that this is the right person to talk to, this is not the right person to talk to? So, you know, social skills and making students become go-getters is a good thing that people need to be taught about. Because I've been there in campus, and I will talk about teamwork. I'm working currently with the two teams, because I sat down, let's say, with a team of 5 people, and we created Tales of the Crazy Kena. Tales of the Crazy Kena is sponsoring students, around 6 students in the university. I sat down again, we worked out, and we came up with a restaurant that has employed around 6 people in the universities. You know, we worked as a team and came up with something that has helped the people in the university, because we had the skill of spotting opportunity and knowing how to manage our finances, because as a single person, you cannot fight depression. But if you are a team, it's us against depression. So working as a team together and knowing whom to talk to will be a good help.
Okay, and maybe briefly, because I've seen the good work that you have also done with highlighting these issues, given the platform that you have. I saw you with the issue of more university students who were starving. Maybe from where you sit, what pushed you really to start highlighting? Because there are really thousands and thousands of people who are quite influential out there, and most of them actually perhaps don't see the need or have not been pushed enough to start highlighting these issues. Talk to us about the day you realized you need to use your voice to highlight these issues.
Actually, there is a day we had a show, and show in Jomo Kenyatta University, and one of the people who was our major fans actually succumbed to depression. So on seeing that, it became like an eye-opener that this issue is real. So I decided that instead of using this platform just to entertain people, I can use this platform for a bigger purpose, like educating people against depression, entertaining them, and also passing information. That was the time that I realized it was the right opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe for you, Rachel, from where you sit, if you're already in that situation, it's really quite a journey coming out of it. You don't just snap out of it like today, okay, nimepona.
Yeah, true. You don't just snap out of it. If you are in that situation, mentally stressed, I'd say first things first. Whatever you're doing, stop. Like, I'm not telling you to quit, but slow down, sit, relax. Maybe either just you or, find someone who can help you to evaluate like what, like your feelings are valid. If you're feeling impatient about something, it's valid. Yeah, because we are actually trying to be better. We should strive to be better. We want better houses. We want to be in like really dope estates. It's okay to want that, and it's okay to be impatient. Just sit back first, relax, stop all that. If you're doing anything to distract yourself, maybe too many parties, maybe drugs, stop. The company that is not serving you right, the friends who will buy you liquor but will not listen to you when you tell them you're hungry, you're starving, stop, step back, keep off, and find someone that will actually help you. Tell them exactly what you're feeling, and tell them your goals. Let the person be mature enough to help you, like, have a plan, have an action plan. Like, okay, so this is where you start, then this, and it will definitely work. Someone will help you, in your patience journey. Okay. Because at the end of the day, you just need patience. Okay. And briefly, I mean, Rachel, there are those who really actually want to talk about it, but there is the issue of stigma, I mean, you just have some slight, what you would call stress to kidogo, but, talking about it would be labeled as, mwenda wazimu. Oh, and there's the woga of, I mean, like, how do I go and knock on someone's office, by the way, and tell them all these issues? Talk to us about how people can go about conquering their fear of talking. That's a fight for the community, really. Like, the whole community needs to be involved. Umesema stigma, that's community, and yes, the stigma is there. First things first, we get to campus, tunafunza communication as a common unit. But really, like, I remember first year I studied communication and I really wanted to pass. There's a whole thing of, there's very little engagement, in schools, such that there's a whole course on communication, but you really don't get to the depth of it. When communication really is very important, could you communicate in a formal setup, in an informal setup, to your friend, how to approach all that. But without your engagement in school, you just do it to pass. So communication first thing, like as a community, as a university, everyone should step out of school akiwa top notch, communicate in such a way, your future mothers, in such a way, mpaka when your kid speaks to you, you're able to listen, you're able to understand, you're able to know when to be quiet and let them, battle on. You're able to know what words will help and how to put them such that they're not just words, they actually, you know, hit a nerve and actually help.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, the whole community needs to be involved. Nasisi as the students and as, you know, the lecturers, as the people who are in that community, we need to be the first ones to, you know, we are all very intelligent. We need to be the first ones to actually, you know, take that extra step, you know, involve, outsource. There is Toastmasters. They teach very good stuff about communication, you know, for both formal and informal setups.
Okay.
Just really invest in learning to communicate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Let me just come to you at this point, because you and Ivy, and Rachel have a history, and you played a key role in who she is today, coming from where she was. Talk to us about the importance of having these facilities in schools, in institutions, offices that are there to listen to students, which sometimes might be lacking.
Thank you for that, and I thank the students for what they have shared. Indeed, every university or college is supposed to have student support services. There is the Dean of Students Office, which is the requisite, the bare minimum should have a university chaplain, a university counselor, and the Dean of Students Office itself is supposed to be empowered to be able to provide for those services. Most importantly, also the university also has the health facilities, where students go with all manner of illnesses, and I think it's also a channel through which students can go. But also, a good school like the school that I'm leading or I'm serving in currently, ought to have what we call the student and academic advisors, lecturers that are available for students. Unfortunately, because of the infrastructure and the support, the way the university is operating now, it appears as if what the students have talked about, who do I talk to, is the biggest challenge. How do I come out that I didn't eat, I didn't sleep properly, I am failing? Students have a big problem with that. And sometimes, personally, I've chosen to dig into students' lives. Lecturer will tell you I called her, and I told her, come, I want us to have a conversation. How did I get to know about lecture? As a university, we get to know what is happening in the lives of students. And sometimes they are referred to you because the university community also knows if this student gets to this person, this student will begin to have a conversation. And students, the good thing that is happening, and I think from the Kenazi, is that students are also becoming voices for one another. You voice. I have a friend who is always sleeping. He's not coming to class. And many times when I've gotten those kind of cases, I call. Tell you, can I come? Can you come? We have a chat. And students will always come out. And another argument I've seen elsewhere, Dr. if I can challenge, is people argue that, you know, it may not necessarily be the university's job entirely to focus on this issue, because quite from the arguments and from Kena's explanation, much of these issues border on financial, you know. The argument is there's only much that the university can do. I think, what is a university? I think it's a university, lecturer has put it very well. It's a place which brings intelligent people together. It is true, the challenges and one of the causes of students' mental distress is finance, which possibly we can consider it as outside of the university. But these students are within the university. Remember I said earlier, today we are having universities' capitation very much reduced. Vice chancellors are struggling to pay salaries, as opposed to providing other and supporting other support system for students. Parents, we have been told, are struggling. They are not able to raise. In fact, some parents expect students to get some little money and send it back to them. The levels of poverty are huge. So we don't want to say serikali's idea, you know, because we can easily say serikali's idea. But the government has a responsibility. When students are funded by help, and that is loan they are given, it is important to ask yourself as a funder, what am I really supporting? Because it is not enough to have a student sit in class when they can't eat. And then we have a system of students who really are living in abject poverty within the university. Is that funding enough as you think about others? But I also know universities are making a lot of efforts. We have universities that have gone out of their way to start endowment funds that would grow and come back and support students. we know within the universities there are welfare, small welfare. Students are forming support groups like these students have explained. But parents have a responsibility.
Okay, and the idea behind this argument perhaps is because, the lecturers might be very well equipped. You're a top professor, but you're a top professor of medicine. You're not equipped to handling a human being who needs someone to sit down and listen and all that,
But I can tell you, there isn't an institution where it doesn't have adults who care. If students come out, and remember, it's not just students who have problems. Even us adults, we have problems. I've not seen a student who is looking for help, who has come out and looking for help, who has not been assisted. Because the help can come from the students themselves, within the student community. It can come from the non-academic staff within the university. It can come from the, the leadership of the university. I think for me, I'll call upon students. When you find you are not processing, you are thinking properly.
Yeah.
When you feel you are getting distressed, just speak. Find somebody to speak. It can even be a text message in the many WhatsApp groups, because it is a point at which when you speak, help comes.
Okay.
Unless we have a platform in which students can speak, it will not come out. I remember we were trying to work out something with an organization which we are trying to come up with an app where students can actually shout. We are calling it Dulu. Dulu, say something about what you are going through. And when that goes to a system it is processed, then we can be able to find a way of providing intervention.
Okay.
But I think for me, where I see it is, how can I make students talk? And my students will know. Even in class, students don't even answer questions. You have to dig deep. Students don't just talk. Students, when you walk on the corridor and you greet them, they don't respond. And I'm thinking there's something not normal here.
Okay.
Students are just quiet. I think there is something that the universities, professors in the universities and community, the entire university community, we need to break that barrier so students can get to us. Remember, in learning, we say there is the affective domain. Unless learners feel they are cared for, it doesn't matter whether they get a first class or not.
Okay.
Yes. So I think there is a part of the university that, university community, when I talk about the university community, I'm talking about we who are there. We who are endowed with this knowledge. There is a part of life which is easy. Let's talk about these things. Let's talk about violence. Let's talk about failing in exams. Let's talk about sleeping without food. Let's talk about issues of life that are important.
Okay.
How do we get students to speak? I would even want to hear the students themselves tell, how do we get students to speak these things out?
Okay.
What is it that we need to do to make these conversations normal? Because unless we talk about the mental health issues, remember, there is no mwenda wazimu. Because it is not, I don't know, the daktari can unpack for us mwenda wazimu. You are not mwenda wazimu.
Okay.
You are going through a normal life process. And you are growing.
Let me just bring in Dr. Nyamuta there.
Yes.
Daktari, clearly there is an issue of the definition and the stigma around the definition. You are clearly not mwenda wazimu if you're depressed.
First of all, there's that whole term, I think, just coins in a lot of stigma, and I think it stems from way back then when when you talked about mental health, or rather a mentally ill person, the typical person, or rather the typical picture you'd get is this man, maybe man or woman, very disheveled, maybe walking barefoot, half dressed, has not eaten for days, walking with a sack with on the back. And that was the typical picture we had when we were talking about mental illness.
Yeah.
But that's just a very small fraction of the mental illnesses that are there. And first of all, there's nothing like mwenda wazimu. I don't know. That's just another term, as you said, that propagates a lot of stigma.
Yeah.
So things. I mean, so I think that's the typical picture of someone either with severe bipolar illness or schizophrenia, depending. They're the ones who would present normally in that way. But that's just a fraction of the mental illnesses that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. Anxiety being another one, depression being very common nowadays, attempted suicide, addiction, personality disorders. I mean, there's so many other mental health issues other than the one that has always been termed, such that when you talk about Madare, that is the picture that people get. Like, I cannot go to Madare ni ya waenda wazimu. But that's not the thing. As in, Madare, we deal with so many issues. Depression being one of the ones that's also coming up, as we've talked about. Just to add on something that Dr. Gitonga was saying about universities and how can the lecturers sort of be part of this space. In medical school, just to give a very brief of my experience, in medical school we had a forum where we had lecturers who were assigned to students, because I think it's a bit far-fetched for you to just expect students to just show up to a lecturer's door and be like, I need help. But now you see, for them, when they instruct, or rather they put it down that Linda Nyamute, you are assigned to Dr. So-and-so as your mentor. It makes it easy. I can approach the doctor and tell them, I've been assigned to you as my mentor, and this is, I'm here to see you as my mentor. And now from there, you're able to talk about issues. Of course, now that will also depend on how open they are to mentorship in the first place. There are people who don't want to mentor people. But for those who are open to mentorship, I think it goes a very long way. I built a good relationship with my mentor, and I mean, there are times I'd sit and wonder whether some of the units, you're just like, wow, as in, I don't know if I can do this. And you see, this is someone who's already in the field, someone who's very senior in their field, and they're telling you, no, here, you can do this. And so just having, sometimes you probably feel would anyway, but just having that person encouraging you, seeing this person means that person who's making it properly in life, and they're encouraging you and they're telling you, you can do it.
Okay. And Daktari, I need to take a very quick break, but just before I do that, just briefly, because before you really decide to talk about it, before you really start talking about finding a solution, perhaps first you have to identify that you have the problem. And for many people, some of them are actually in depression and they don't know. Talk to us briefly about how perhaps you can tell your situation, how you are, and why you need help.
So when it comes to mental health, depression and other mental health problems included, we have to always remember the three main things that are involved: the way we think, the way we feel, and the way we behave. So if you find yourself being very negative in terms of your thoughts, everything just seems like dark and gloom. Even when something good happens, it's still not, it doesn't excite you. So you're constantly feeling low, you're constantly maybe feeling irritated, something small really bugs you, you get really anger outbursts after every small trigger. Behaviors like maybe isolating yourself, or someone who's probably never taken drugs or alcohol before, starting to binge on them and taking them very often and more just to help them cope. Then in addition to all this, you find that is really struggling on a day-to-day basis to just keep up with the normal day-to-day routines, your normal functioning. You're going to class, you reading as you normally would, you for those who are doing hustles, for you just to be able to keep up with that hustle, everything just seems like a struggle, and your functioning has been sort of compromised or impaired. Then you know that indeed there's something that needs to be addressed here.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Nyamute there, of course, helping us break it down and identify how you, how you can identify that you are indeed, of course, perhaps close to depression or in any way mentally disturbed, and how and you should start, of course, finding help. We have to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because Dr. Nyamute, Dr. Gitonga, Kena and Rachel are staying with me after this break, and we'll also be joined by someone else who will be talking to us about why we can start this conversation from a younger age.
think about Molfix?
Actually, another brand was recommended to me, but it had a leakage problem. Then I decided to try Molfix. His clothes don't get wet anymore.
Because Molfix provides extra protection against leakage thanks to its anti-leakage elastic barriers. All babies deserve a high-quality diaper. You should also try Molfix.
With over 60 years experience, Amref Flying Doctors is the leading air ambulance provider in the region. We go when no one else goes in the event of a medical emergency. We operate 24 hours, 7 days a week. With the Maisha Air and Ground Medical Evacuation Plan, Amref Flying Doctors assures you peace of mind. For more information, call 0709 962 000 or log on to www.flydoc.org.
More and better financing for education in Kenya. Elimu Yetu Coalition calls upon the government to address financial and other barriers such as prevalence of sexual gender-based violence contributing to the dropout of 24% of out-of-school girls and meaningfully engage children in decision-making in schools. Ensure transparency and accountability in the utilization of resources in education and increase partnerships with donors to boost financing in education.
Salad vegetable cooking oil is the clear flowing secret to tasty meals. Buy 5 liters of salad vegetable cooking oil today and get 250 grams Zesta tomato sauce for free. Iflo Kama Salad. Salad vegetable cooking oil. Available in all cooking outlets countrywide.
Embiid rolling in and slamming the lids on for Joel Embiid.
You want a superstar? That's what Joel Embiid is.
Embiid playing the best basketball of his career. Here's Embiid thinking about a 3. There it is. Yes! Wow!
He got some key footwork in there too.
50 points for Joel Embiid, a career high. First Sixers since Allen Iverson.
7 foot, 280-pound center with the ability to stretch the defense.
The most dominant big man. Look out below. Embiid has been particularly dominant.
There's no more fun in games. He's done playing around.
This is why they have a chance. The greatness of Embiid, he can dominate any game.
Kuna umefanya? Kuhusu nini? Usijifanye. Umefanya nini?
Unazungumzia nini?
Wale nimekutafuta.
Umenipata, niambie.
Tunaweza date.
Tumuuliza?
Wow, thank you for your time. How juicy.
Juicy.
Welcome to the future of railway cargo transport, presented to you by Kenya Railways. The Madaraka Express brings you the best modern rail service available in the East African region today. Whether it be conventional cargo, containerized cargo, or any other cargo, we connect markets. Madaraka Express freight service is designed with the client's preference in mind, affording them peace of mind whenever their goods are on the move until the time of delivery. Kenya Railways, right on track.
Thank you for staying with your World on NTV. This morning we are talking about mental health awareness among students in higher learning institutions. With me in studio, of course, this morning, Dr. Gitonga, Dr. Linda Nyamute, Crazy Kiana, and of course, Rachel Wamushe. We continue our conversation from where we left it. But for now, I want to bring in someone else who, of course, is key to this conversation, and that is Tom Osborne. He's the Executive Director at Shamiri Institute. Tom, good morning. If you can hear me, let me just quickly, briefly get your remarks, of course, on this conversation before we delve into the good work that you do.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Victor. And as you said, I'm the co-founder and executive director of Shamiri. We were founded at the Department of Psychology at Harvard, where I was an undergrad before moving back to Kenya this year. And so basically what we try to do is to develop and disseminate low-cost, low-stigma mental health intervention for young people in Kenya. And I think this conversation is really important because I think it's high time that we, not only talk about mental health, but we also take a holistic approach to developing mental health and well-being interventions that can be embedded within the existing school system and that can interface with the existing, kind of like caregiving and healthcare system. And that is what we are trying to do.
Okay, wonderful. And of course, something else I've noticed with the work that you do is you started from some bit of an early age, even perhaps before they get to universities. Talk to us about the importance of beginning this journey early enough.
Actually, I think there is a significant need to begin having a conversation about mental health from an early age. And this is because, mental health problems begin at an early age. So they're in fact, from 13 to 19. And young people with mental health problems, performing poorly in schools, have poor relationships, with their peers, are at risk of, suicide and suicidal ideation. And even more importantly, these early adolescent onset of mental health problems really predict future life outcomes. So things like academic performance, employment, civic engagement, are significantly correlated with, adolescent mental health problems. And if we don't intervene and begin this conversation at this early age, we risk, having a generation where most people, because of underlying untreated mental health problems, cannot really be able to achieve and realize important life outcomes.
Okay, and Tom, definitely, if we are talking about a 13-year-old, that is someone who's still under the roof of their parents, which means parents have a very critical role in determining whether, the course that their children would take.
Yeah, both parents and schools. I think 13, a lot of people are still about to transition to high school. I think that is, kind of what research has shown to be the most important transition. That's transition, from primary school to high school. And I think it's something that, kind of parents, in my opinion, don't take it seriously because they, just leave the students under the care of the school. And these are like young children who are struggling, with a sense of belonging, trying to find their place in the world. And so I think it's time for parents to not only get involved in the kids' life from an academic perspective, but to also be involved, with their kids from a holistic well-being perspective, to really think about and care about, kind of the issues that the kid are going on. Because without this foundation, students cannot be able to succeed academically. And one thing we found, which is really disturbing, is in some epidemiological studies, nearly 1 in 2 Kenyan high school students report elevated depression or anxiety symptoms, which is a really, really high number. And I think it's time for both parents and schools to not only have a dialogue around this, but to begin thinking about intervening.
Okay. And Tom, before I let you go, please talk to us about this briefly about the program itself. How do I go about it? How do I join it? And what difference would it make for me or my child?
Yes, I think we take a holistic approach to mental health and well-being. I think traditionally, the traditional approach is to focus on what we call psychopathology, and that is the negative symptoms of mental health. But what we do is we focus on the positive aspects of mental health, and that is, building character strength, that is strengthening resilience and sense of purpose, And so our interventions, are built on this idea that by, kind of like teaching young people lessons that build their character and improve on the positive aspects of their character strengths, you can change the views of the world, and this can have some sort of like a cascading effect that can help with their overall well-being. And so we have done a lot of clinical trials for this, and we've shown that this intervention actually reduces depression and anxiety symptoms by between 35 to 39%, but importantly also improves academic grades by 2%. So if parents and schools want to get involved, they can reach out to us via our website. And thank you so much for having this conversation. Yeah.
All right. Many thanks. Of course, Tom Osman is the Executive Director at Shamiri Institute. Let's just go back to where we were in this conversation. And let me just start with Kena briefly. Before we went for the break, we spoke about the importance of people talking. And I think some 3 weeks, if not a month ago, you were able to actually talk, I think it was a young lady out of, suicide. And she was able to perhaps, of course, listen to you very well and rethink her decision. Talk to us about the importance of talking, Kena.
Okay, so the importance of talking is that it makes your trouble seem like it's not that much heavy. Because as a team, as if you are in a group of people, you can share, then you find you are not the only person that is suffering from a particular problem, or you're not the only person that is broke. And now you'll start discussing solutions. I remember there's a time when someone just called me from my number, and she was like crying, and she started saying that I don't know whom I'm talking to, and I just want to talk to someone. And now she started saying her problems, that she had problems at home, parental issues. It's like her parents do not understand her. They think she's rude. There is a certain age bracket where a parent will fail to understand the kids, because now if you like tell the kid this way and the kid says another thing, maybe you'll say that the kid is rude, but you are not actually listening. So main thing, people should pay attention than talk. A lot of people do not listen. So it's a challenge to people. I will ask a lot of people to speak, because after we talked with that lady for, I think it was almost 20 minutes, she said that now she's well, she's okay, and the problem does not seem much. Because I talked to her and I tell her that that's just a stage, that she can overcome that stage. So I will ask a lot of people and the people who are at campus to just speak out as much as you can, as you can do. Just speak out. You have your confidence. The friends that are close to you speak up, makes jokes here and there. Alafu watu wacheke. That's why I do comedies, because comedy will make a lot of things to be at least lighter. Utaona kumbe kusota pia ikuangi ifai kupea stress sana, si yako peke yako, kumbe tuko wengi. There is that mentality, kumbe tuko wengi, and now you don't have the chance to start getting depressed, because depression kicks in a lot of the time when you are alone, when you're not talking to somebody. Okay.
Rachel, at some point your problems might feel like the biggest problem that has ever existed in this planet. And then you talk to the person sitting next to you, and then you start to realize, okay, it's like,
Yeah. There are those people you talk to, and they're like God sent. Like for me, Daktari really, got to me at that point when I was kind of hopeless. So, I think we are all working towards, better living standards. We all have our goals and dreams, and it's okay. And I think as a community, we should adopt, a mentality like that of soldiers. You're as strong as your weakest soldier. So we are creating a world where, we can all be happy. We can all, not have to get bored because you don't have much to do, because in fact, there's so much to do. We are all here for a reason. You are distinct. You have that particular thing that you are brought here for. Wherever you are, you're useful. Yeah, so as a community, like Kenna said, learn to listen, don't leave anyone behind. No one is retarded. That is, you know, like they say, oh, you had depression, you are out of your mind. That's like, oh, you are retarded. No, 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 no.
Okay.
You are okay just as you are. It is a process that you've probably discovered something that, you know, we haven't gotten to, and it's a lot, and we need to listen so that we can learn from it and, you know, keep on pushing from that point.
Okay. All right.
That's why, yeah.
All right. Dr. Gitonga, definitely, Daktari has spoken about, you know, the red flags from a medical perspective, the things that you're starting to feel fatigued and all that, you know. But from an academic perspective, what are those first few things that you notice either in yourself or your friend and you know, I might actually need some help?
Who are currently in the university, one of the, as I was sharing with you, there are a couple of red flags that as a student you'd notice and know there's something not right, or even your community, your friends. For example, when it's time for class, you are sleeping. There's a professor who says you just like sleeping. Everybody else is in class, you sleep today, you sleep tomorrow, you keep sleeping. If you have excessive kind of sleeping when others are in class, you need to ask yourself why. Number two, if you are in conflict relationships, you have a girlfriend, boyfriend, you are constantly fighting. And you are also pursuing each other. You know the way the web of friendship among the students in the university? If you are in a conflicted relationship in the university, please look for help. If you are in conflict with your parents, it is true, many students in the university are in conflict with their parents, and they have issues. Serious issues. Some parents are not, you call them, you have an issue, they don't respond, or your family, your parents are in a fight, you are in the red flag. One for me as a dean, the obvious one is if I find a student has very many supplementary exams.
Yeah.
When we are processing exams and we find a student has very many fails, that tells you this student is in need of help. A student who does not submit assignments, you don't even know when the assignments were given. You are just there. You don't attend class. You are in the university, you don't attend class. No, that's a red flag. If you find yourself not interested in joining societies, you are just alone. You just walk alone. No, you are in isolation. You don't do sports, you don't go to choir, you don't go to Christian Union, you don't go to ICS, you don't join anything. You are just alone. And most of the times you are keeping your own company. Know that you are in distress. Now we are having a crop of students who are borrowing. They are hooked into betting, or they are borrowing them amongst themselves. Others are borrowing lecturers. If you find yourself, you're consistently developing, becoming, taking a lot of people's money and you're not able to pay, you'll get isolated. You keep running away from other people. Sadly, also, if you find yourself being drawn into cultism, students in the universities are also joining cults, groups that you don't understand what it is that they are doing. Be very careful. I think the other risk factor is that some business enterprises are coming to dig deep students from the universities. I'll pay you to do this work for me. Then school is taken aside. Those fellows don't pay you. You know, it's a story you can't tell. So you find yourself getting hooked into those kind of engagements. Now, be sure. Like somebody buys some boda, gives you as a rider, you earn for them. At the end of the day, you don't earn the money that you are working for. No, you are sliding into a very risky ground. Other students who have if you have no money and you are not having meals, it's a basic requirement. You might be having a small room which has accumulated rent. You can't pay rent. You have no food. You have nobody to talk to. So that combination of issues that are affecting you becomes a good recipe for significant levels of depression. And they won't be there. They will certainly be there. As Rachel was saying, and even Kenna was saying, I think for a student, I take depression as, the levels of depression as, sometimes you might be thinking, if you have a car, you might be thinking your car is old. Just look in front, you see somebody who is driving an older one, which is even smoking.
And so of course, Kando kuna mtu wa
Kando
baiskeli na kuna mtu anatembea.
Kuna mungu na kuna hata bodaboda imeharibika kwa barabara. Just look around, you'll be able to see
that you are actually
your issues are so light compared to another student's issue.
Thank you.
The point is, speak.
All right.
Yes.
And of course, what a wonderful discussion we're having. I have to get your closing remarks, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, let me just get this last pack of feedback that we got from you. And this is from, Jackson Gary says, when will we stop shying off from speaking about issues affecting students? Of late, we've had or seen news about students committing suicide. Thank you, Jackson. And I think he continues to say, have you ever taken time to ask yourself the cause of all this? Students sleeping hungry, parents pressuring us back at home. Si ulikataa kufanya course kama ya uncle yako. Si ulikataa kufanya course nilikuchagulia. The schools also hike fees, making it hard for students to sit for their final exams. Thank you, Jackson. And shout out to Jackson Gary, by the way, he's a student at Kisii University, and he's part of the people who actually approached us that we need to have this conversation. Shout out to you, Jackson. Keep up the good work that you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to get to your closing remarks, and let me just start with Dr. Nyamute. Briefly, for now that we know, perhaps, let's say it's Victor Kiprop who needs this help. There's also the issue of the people around them, the family. How do we handle this person in your closing remarks?
It's important as a family, I think, to know that you're in this together. As I said, you're one unit. You're not. If my son wins, I'm failing, or if my brother wins, I'm failing, or something like that. It's you're supposed to support each other. The purpose of a family unit is for that sense of belonging, but also for the support. So if you are having a student who is in one way or another struggling with mental health issues, I think we find a lot of patients who wait until things have gotten really, really, really bad. This person now has dropped out of school, and now they're coming because the school has suspended them or discontinued them, so they need a letter to say that they're not mentally well, but it wouldn't have really necessarily have had to come to that.
Okay.
It have sought help much earlier. So I think the issue to do with stigma and just fearing to seek help for the sake of wanting to not be labeled as something should come to a stop, because at the end of the day, if you seek help early, you get proper treatment, you're able to continue with your school, with your studies. And families play a very big role in identifying issues, and also in being in support of the person in recovery, recovery phases. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Let me just come back to you, Rachel. Rachel, definitely there are people who are in the situation that you were before you came back and you conquered the challenges that you are facing. Some of them don't feel like there's, any hope. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. Briefly, in your closing remarks, talk to them.
Well, I'd say there is hope. As long as you're there, as long as you are you, there is so much hope for you. And we also hope in you. We need you so that we can keep going. Know when to talk. When you start noticing that you wake up and you're anxious about things, about, say, a class, you're very, very anxious. Sometimes it becomes even physical. You're sweating, you're shaking, you don't like it. Slow down. Slow down on that. Find someone you can talk to, tell them exactly what's happening to you. If you don't like what you're doing, it's okay. I think I can say that it's okay to step down and find something else. Also, you don't have to be there. You don't have to be in JKUAT or any institution. You really don't have to. You are a grown-up.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be there, you have to want to be there for you to be there, like for you to even perform.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to be there, you are free to leave.
Okay.
There's so much more you could do, and there's so many other places that actually need you.
All
Be
right.
where you are needed, where you also want to be.
Okay.
And accept help.
Thank you.
Accept help.
Thank you, Rachel. And maybe to Kenna, I think part of the reason the lady you were able to talk out of suicide called you, part of the reason she called you was because perhaps she's seen your work online and you are advocating for these issues. There are many other people out there who have the voice, they have the platform, they are athletes, they are politicians, people in government, people in education. Talk to us about the importance of people using their voices, and I'm seeing more people like you talking about these issues briefly.
I think everybody, all entertainers and people who have platforms should focus on speaking about these agendas, because at the end of the day, you cannot create a society and employ people who are depressed, because you can't have the rates of production that you need. And again, another issue is to people who are students, they should check on the level of interactions.
Okay.
You become whom you interact with. At the end of the day, just look, don't interact too much with negative energies.
Okay.
Anything that you watch, you see, you listen to, should be reinforcing positivity to you. And finally, they should even learn how to play, how to pray. At the end of the day, let's kneel down, pray to God, and ask God to help us.
All
Amen.
right. Thank you very much, Kenna. And Dr. to you, in just 30 or 40 seconds, close for us the conversation on how we can move this forward.
One, thank you for having us here. And Dr. began the introduction and stating that young people, you are growing. Do not stop your growth. You are growing. You are in universities and colleges where you went to grow. As you grow, you'll have the growth pains and challenges that are associated with growth. Please know, and I can speak on behalf at least of universities, I interact with universities, we are very many of us in the universities who care. We care. We won't get deeply affected when a student takes away their life, or a student just gives up and they are not able to pursue their education just because we didn't know. And why we get frustrated is because we get to know after. We get to know this student didn't want to do this course, and it brings a gloom within the leadership that is not good. The universities care, we love students. Please get out and find a way of speaking.
Okay.
Speak to your colleagues, speak to anybody. The moment you shout out, help is on the way.
Okay.
Help is on the way for any student in our country.
All right.
And we will all, together we will succeed.
All right.
Yes.
Wonderful. We have been talking about mental health awareness, of course, for students in higher learning institutions. Many thanks to my guest this morning, Dr. Gitonga Shuriaka. She's the Dean of School of Education and Social Sciences at Embu University. With her, of course, in studio this morning is also Rachel Wamushe. She's her student at the University of Embu and someone who has conquered depression before. And joining us in the studio, of course, this morning as well is Crazy Kenna, the content cartel himself. And joining us virtually, Dr. Linda Nyamute. She is a psychiatrist. And from me and the entire team, we have thoroughly enjoyed your company. And from us here, it's bye for now. But we leave you with this something small with what the good work that Crazy Kenna has been doing.
Nikimitu dem nataka kwanza ni confess feelings zangu, like nataka kwenda hii design I really love you baby. You're my queen. You're the princess of my world. My heart beats for you.
Hello, madam. Oh my goodness. Kwenda siku mzuri. Ona ng'ombe. Ona ng'ombe. Ona ng'ombe. Ni ya mkulima from the east.
Nimeona Daisy.
Oh my goodness.
Nikimitu dem nataka kwanza ni confess feelings zangu, like nataka kwenda hii design I really love you baby. You're my queen. You're the princess of my world. My heart beats for you.
Hello, madam. Oh my goodness. Kwenda siku mzuri. Ona ng'ombe. Ona ng'ombe. Ona ng'ombe. Ni ya mkulima from the east.
Nimeona Daisy.
Oh my goodness.
Presenting the new Harpic bathroom cleaner. Compared to ordinary detergents, its thick formulation gives you superior cleaning and kills 99.9% of germs and viruses all around the bathroom. Blue
For the toilet.
And red
For the bathroom.
Mimi ni mtengenezaji wa wedding rings nikitumia mapeni za kitambo. Hii ni kazi ambayo nimefanya for 12 years now. Na ni kazi ambayo iko na maana kwa saa hii. But after COVID, hakuna mtu anakuja kufanya harusi, hakuna mtu anakuja kununua pete. Sasa niko busy kuzitengeneza.
Tukutane kwenye makala ya Jasho Langu katika NTV jioni Jumanne hii.
Manz, nataka kuwaongelesha leo. Manze ushaipiga luku lakini razor bumps nazo zinachoma. I'm Dr. Austin Oyuer and this is Learn in a Minute. Manze ushaitoka kinyozi, umepiga kati yako freshi, unakaa poa, nini, unaenda kadeti hivi, Lakini razor bumps nazo, Manze unajua nini nazileta? You guy, my guy, imagine wewe. So, what do? Wachanga kushika hizo ma place. Ukishapiga shower the next day, chukua ka spirit kako ama ka aftershave, paka kwa hizo ma areas, alafu avoid kuishika. I'm Dr. Austin Oyuer and this is Learn in a Minute.
NTV, turning on your world. The following program has been rated GE. It is therefore suitable for general family viewing.
We clapped our hands and stomped our feet. Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho. A rig-a-tick-tick and away we go, away we go, away we go. A rig-a-tick-tick and away we go. Hi ho, hi ho, hi ho.
Hi, welcome to Generation 3. My name is Abby Kimani and here we are all about fun, and that's why we have a lot of great things lined up for you today. Let's take a look at the highlights and see what we'll be doing.